All right, Brakathiya Howell, Brakathiya Howell Shai, Brakathiya Howell, Brakathiya Howell Shai, Brakathiya Howell, Brakathiya Howell, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Regard Quadash, the belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Mills of True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Sadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm Krishaman. This week's topic is going to be entitled, This Man Has Made the World Slave to Debt. You know, who's this man, the so called white man, Esau Edom? He's pretty much made the world, all right, subservient to him, primarily, namely, actually, Rothschilds. All right, they did something called predator banking, pretty much loaning out um, huge amounts of loans to different nations. All right, and with interest, with usury, and of course, the usury is what you do to pretty much suppress people, especially when they had the money now to print the dollar. See, one time the U.S. dollar was backed by gold, right? But now it's legal tender. So for every dollar that's printed, there's usury on there. So technically speaking, is it impossible, all right, to come out of debt? Because once you print a dollar, all right, you are automatically in debt because that dollar that is printed is no longer money of the U.S. government, all right. It is money of the Federal Reserve. It's an IOU to the Federal Reserve with interest. Okay, so they have pretty much made America, all right, in debt. And those that try to fight against it, whether it be Abraham Lincoln or John F. Kennedy, which are one of the same people, one of the same spirits, all right, they off you, okay? And it's the same debt-based system they're going to use to collapse their own currency to introduce a new currency, a digital currency, all right? Now, this is Proverbs 22:7. It says, the rich ruleth over the poor. Right, the rich ruleth over the poor. Now, who is the poor? That's the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. In all actuality, relatively, all of us is poor compared to the Rothschilds. Right, but there's different levels of it. All right, there's different levels in society, and primarily you Jakes, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you're at the bottom. You're at the bottom. You know, and we're getting ruled over by the rich. See, when we get in power, all right, we're gonna be ruling, all right, because we're gonna be the ones that's rich. Right now, the Edomites, the Esau, they're the ones that's rich, and they dictate everything. All right, laws, wars, and pretty much from them ruling, everybody is in a state of mourning. Why? Because the so-called white man was not meant to rule. All right, he was meant to be a servant. It says, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Right, the borrower is servant to the lender. If you owe somebody something, all right, the scriptures is telling you you're a servant unto that person because you have to repay your debt, whether it's in the form of labor, whether it's in the form of money, or it's in the form of a pledge that you've made, all right, or as today, pawned. You know, if you pawn something, all right, to get the thing back that you pawned, you have to give back the money, and often with interest, all right. Not always. These pawn shops will have interest. You know, you go ahead, you pawn something, you get money for it, and you could always come back and buy it for what you pawned it for, all right. But so-called white man, he took this concept and put interest in it, man. All right, and it is a so-called white man because even Ishmael, all right, their religion, Islam, and all that, the Muslims, they don't practice usury. It's against Islam to do usury. They tell you they speak against it. So we, as a people of the East, all right, we understand that what usury does, what debt does to a society and does to the people, all right. And that's the sort of economy that America is running. Because look, you have something called Austrian economics, all right, which says the economy should grow by the productivity of the people, and Keynesian economics, which is what's being done here in America, which is you increase the productivity of the economy by debt, you know, which cause cycles. You know, there's cycles where people are borrowing, and then the bubble happens, a crash, and there's a huge deleveraging, all right, and shit goes south. You know, like the '08 bubble, you know, and these types of things. 2020 COVID situation was really a great deleveraging. And you can follow somebody named Ray Dalio if you want more on that. But this is a debt-based society. It's a debt-based cycle that the so-called white man has done. It's a society that's run on usury. You know, when you're born into debt. You know, you could even check the debt clock, the U.S. national debt clock. It just keeps going up and up and up. More debt as the value of the dollar is decreasing. Pardon me. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. It says, yea, also, all right, because he let me read verse 4 actually. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. Behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, not upright in the so-called white man, as it is written, the wicked are strange for the womb. All right, meaning there's a wicked, vile spirit put into these Edomites. All right, before they're even born. All right, their spirit was created to be crooked. All right, so and be the perfect devils, deceivers, and all that, mischief, work evil in the earth. That's their purpose. You know, it says, but the just shall live by his faith. Now, the word there for justice, tazadak. All right, because we're made righteous not through the works of the law, but through our faith in Yahweh Shai. That's in the book of Romans, the 5th chapter, in the 1st verse. All right, it says, yea, also because he transgressed by wine. Now, what's the so-called white man's wine? His philosophies. All right, whether it be the LGBTQ plus whatever, so-called Christianity, democracy, and the list goes on and on. You know, these different philosophies, nations have drunk of it. All right, tried the ways of America, tried the ways of the so-called white man, and are pissed off. They saying, wait a minute, this ain't right. We're not supposed to have a woman telling us what to do and dictate things and rule things and shit like that, because the society goes south. Hey, then you had the so-called white man. He was trying to push that homosexuality shit on them so-called Africans. All right, which a lot of them was Jake's mingle over there. All right. And it was ready to put people to death, man. They're not eating the ways of the so-called white man, his philosophies and his bullshit, because they look at America and see the folly and see the simplicity, see everybody's fat, see everybody's dumb. They don't want a country like that, man. You know, America's a laughing stock. The Americans are a laughing stock, man. Most people, when you go out this country, they look at America like you guys are a bunch of idiots. And guess what? For the most part, they right. All right, the average American don't know what the hell is going on. Can't tell you the difference between his ass and his elbows, man. It says he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. This man wears pride and violence like a chain, man. All right, he's the one building satellites up in the heavens. He's the one that's going to be proud enough to take on Yahweh Shah. There's not been a nation such as great in pride as the nation of Edom. That's how come they're going to have the greatest downfall. As it is written, before pride comes destruction. And who's more proud than the so-called white man? Nobody. So he's going to have the greatest destruction ever. It says he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Right? They have over 850 bases, stations all throughout the world, man. Different embassies and military bases. So-called American military. All right? He can't keep at home. So-called white man has to go everywhere. He has to try to conquer any and everything, man. All right? Because at this point, it's not even about money. It's just about power. You know, but the Most High is constantly creating and got places hid, so you're never gonna be able to conquer everything, man. That glory is gonna be left to us, man. All right, to infinitely conquer the universe, man. When we get into power, Yahweh shall get back into power, and the elect being joint heirs with him, and really the whole nation of Israel, man. All right, ruling with Yahweh Shah, conquering the galaxies and the cosmos, man, for eons and eons, age after age. It says his desire is his desire, who is largest his desire as hell, and is as death and cannot be satisfied. What was that in that movie Planet of the Apes, Cornelius? But beware the beast man. You know, they was pretty much describing the so-called white man that, look, this guy is a devouring, conquering demon. All right, and you know, when you conquer a place, like when we're gonna go around conquering, all right, that civilization is gonna be built up, and it's gonna be governed correctly. People are going to be really rejoicing at the end and marvel at how great we govern and rule, you know, and be happy, you know, ultimately after a period of thousands years, man. But the so-called white man, when he ruled, people mourn, man. Look what happens when he goes to places like Haiti and these different other countries. Look at the shit that he brings. Look what he brought to America. Smallpox diseases, wiped out the buffalo. This is this man's track record, man. Destroying the ocean. He's a virus and a cancer on the planet Earth, and he can't stay at home, all right, and he cannot be satisfied. He's a virus. That's how come Yahushua has to come be the antivirus. Put this man back where he belongs, which is in slavery, man. He should not be ruling. It says, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, man. All right, and America is a melting pot, you know. And this idea of traveling and mingling and mix with every nation and mix foods and mix... That's not how the Lord meant it to be, man. The Lord created borders, all right? Because the Lord understands that separation is order. You know what? People understand that separation is order, but when it comes to people, they just can't seem to get it, All right, now I always use this analogy, right? If you go into, like, let's say we go into a Costco, right? Go into a Costco, you got to pick up some whatever, all right? You got to pick up something from Costco, but there's no aisles. Everything is just mingled up. There's no section divided. They got the eggs next to the clothes, and they got the bikes next to the freezer. You know what I'm saying? There's no order there. The only way you have to establish order to find the product that you need, you have to separate things. You have to put aisles, and within that aisle, all right, you have to have sections. For example, you might have the aisle dealing with teeth and dental care, right? But then within that aisle, you have the Listerine is here, the floss is here, the toothbrush is here, the toothpaste is here. You know, so the more you separate it, the more order this creates. To find things and create structure. Hell, man, if you're running out your house late for work, all right, you have to separate your pants from your shirts, from your socks, from your boxes, from your jacket, and so on and so forth. That way you could grab things quickly. Everything is in order. But when you mingle things up, all right, you have a state of disorder. All right, the Tower of Babel should be proof on that. But yet, we live in a society where the so-called white man, all right, is telling people the opposite, mingle with everybody and mix everything and shit like that. That's all madness, man. In the kingdom, we're not gonna be doing that. The nations are gonna have their sections. We're gonna have our sections, and they're gonna be paying tributes to us, man. All right, they're rightful leaders, man, and that's how things should naturally be. Because even here in America, all right, people naturally click up with themselves. You have places where the Italians are. You have places where the Russians are. You have places where the Puerto Ricans are. You have places where the Dominicans chill. You have places where the Jamaicans chill. Everybody eventually click up with their own culture from where from where they were prior to coming to America. So that should tell you that people naturally want to click up with their culture, man. All right, I like oxtail, man. You think a so-called Jew likes oxtails? So why the hell would I want to be around them when I want to go get my food and stuff? So people naturally separate from them and go with their kind, man. You know, even in the animal kingdom, you don't see the zebras mixing with the antelopes and shit like that. A zebra and an antelope pride and such. They go with their tribes. They go with their herd. Okay. It says, and heapeth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, right? Or a saying, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his. The so-called white man does not own a motherfucking thing, man. Yet he owns every fucking thing, if you know what I mean. All right, he's not entitled to it. The Most High gave it to him, but look, it's not supposed to be so, because the book of Ezra tells us that the world was created for our sake. It's all right. This thing is all meant for the nation of Israel. But guess what? The scripture says, pretty much roughly paraphrasing, all right, the wicked layeth up treasures for the just. All right, so all these things that they're collecting, the gold, the wine, all these precious rubies and stones, they really laying it up for the just, man. You know? Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find that scripture. Lay just. Let me see if it's in Proverbs. Let's see. I know it's in Proverbs, the 30th chapter. Let me see if I can get that scripture. Let's try Proverbs 30. It's in the 30s, man. Let me try something real quick. Salaki, bear with me, brothers. Wealth of the sinner. Yep, there it is. Proverbs 13 and 22. It says, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. See that? The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So they laying up. You have this picture of this one Edomite dude, man, with like mad gold bricks behind him. I forgot what the name of the Edomite dude was. He had a suit on and he had all these gold bricks, man. Like an infinite amount of gold bricks. It was a real picture. Shit wasn't Photoshop, man. And all that gold is being stored up for who? For the elect, man. All right. It says, woe to him that increases that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Right. So that thick clay, the apostles, the elders, brothers always going into it. The Hebrew word there is ibatya, which is debt, man. And that's what this society is being run by. It's a debt-based society. And the so-called white man, right, is going against the law, statute, and commandments by putting usury upon the people. Now, this is Exodus 22 and 25. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, right? And what's an usurer? Interest, man. You're not supposed to put interest on an Israelite, man. Now, we could put interest on the nations. Fuck them, But you're not supposed to be putting it on the Lord's people. And a lot of our people are laid up in debt one way or another, man. And because you need debt to operate in this society, man. You need a credit card. You got to build your so-called credit. If you ever want a car or a house, right? Because look, when you go to a dealership, they're not selling cars. They're selling loans. They're trying to sell you a loan that's going to go to the bank, and the bank is going to associate that loan to yourself with interest. Okay, because you could try to go on you could go to a luxury car, give them $1 million cash. I want the best luxury car. That shit ain't going off the lot. Because they're not selling cars, they're selling loans. When was the last time you watched a car commercial and they gave the price in full? Nah, man, they tell you there's monthly shit with this much interest rate and that because it's all usury, man. Neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Slack. Read it again. If thou lend money to any of my people, the Israelites, that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer. Interest, okay? Neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Interest, man. You're not supposed to act as an interest person. You're not supposed to put any interest in any transaction with an Israelite, man. Okay? The man, whenever he says, look, I'm gonna try to pay you back by this time or that time, it's that time. And it's not supposed to be no interest on it, man. Hell, you even have a year of jubilee when people get released from their debt, man. See, that's the problem with this society. Nobody's released from their debt. You have people carrying debt from their parents and their foreparents that's been put onto them. You growing up as a kid, your mom, she out there fucking up your credit. By the time you get older, your credit's already fucked up. You can't make certain moves because your credit is damn. Now you got to build it back up. You got to borrow and do something. It's all bullshit, man. That's the society, man. That's how come people mourn. Debt is a friggin' killer, man. It's a good way to get into the poorhouse real fast, man. If you don't know what the hell you're doing. You have to learn how to maneuver in the society with debt, man. And I know a lot of brothers don't like to deal with debt, but look, man, you have to use it in this society. And use wisdom with it because it can, if you use correctly, be to your benefit if you know how to use it wisely, man. That's how Esau move around. But for the most part, they know that Jake is not really educated in that field. Neither are a lot of people, so they know how to trap, all right, people with debt. It says, if thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by the sun goes down, right? So because back then, a garment was looked at very differently than it is now. There's no such thing in the ancient world. I'm gonna throw this shit out and get a new garment and throw this out. No, look, people slept in their garments, man. I don't like this shit. I'm gonna go throw it out and replace it. We have that luxury here because the scripture says victuals shall be sold good cheap. Everything is cheap here. Food, oil, clothing compared to the ancient world. But in the ancient world, these things were very precious, man. We take water for granted. Didn't you know you had to walk to a community well in the ancient world? Only the rich had their own little well, man. So water was more precious, oil, food, raiment. All right, that's how come there's a law that, look, man, if a man was to pawn his garment, all right, to pay off something or get some money real quick, you have to return it to him by sundown. Because why? Because that's what he slept in. Right? Exodus 22 and 27. For that is his covering only. It is raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep? See? Because you had an outer layer garment and you have the undergarment, the tunic. So that outer layer garment, all right, was like, was used to sleep, man. There's certain scriptures where you see the word naked, it don't mean naked like no clothes on. It mean they didn't have that outer garment, that outer shell, all right, that covered the tunic to sleep in, man. So that was a crucial thing. So if a man was to pawn that, look, man, if he can't come up with whatever he had to come up with, man, you still gotta give him back that, man. So the man could at least sleep. But the so-called white man, you in a debt, he don't give a fuck. He'll kick down your door for debt and things that you owe. That's called the IRS. And there's scriptures on it too, man. It says, and it shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious. Right? So if you abuse that person, the Most High is going to hear it, man. See, now that I mentioned the IRS kicking people's door down, all right, to get shit that they owe, this is Deuteronomy 24 and 10. It says, when thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. See? In this society, they'll do that. Let you owe student loans or any kind of federal loan. All right, government loan that you can't file bankruptcy for. You can't file bankruptcy for federal loans. If you owe the government, they will kick down your door and they'll take every goddamn thing from you. All right, as collateral. That's what the scriptures is saying. That's a law. You can't do no shit like that. You can't kick down a man's door, take this and that. Oh shit, look, you ain't paying me back, so I'm taking your mule. All right, I'm gonna take your cattle. I'm gonna take the pottery in your house. You can't. There was laws against that shit, man. But the so-called white man, he'll do that, man. That's what happened to a lot of these rappers. They're getting a lot of they're getting a lot of stage money, which is not taxed, and they doing dumb shit. All right, they don't pay their taxes. The IRS will come and take every damn thing from Jake, man. Right? So you're not supposed to be doing that. I'm gonna skip Deuteronomy 24 and 6 because that's something different. And this is what the scripture says about what this man does. This is Job 24 and 9. It says they pluck the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge of the poor. So even when you don't got no money, the so-called white man still wants you to borrow, man, and leverage something, man. So you ain't got shit till you gotta file bankruptcy, till he could take everything from you and put you right back down in the dirt and create this vicious cycle that keeps going on, man. And that's a lot. That's what happened to most people here in America, man. And that's why they grieve and mourn. This is a society that's built upon debt. It's collapsed the people. But it's ultimately going to collapse the society itself, man. Alright, with that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash, the belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Hey, shalom until next time. We almost out this bitch. Shalom.